Hi, everybody. Today I
Woo!
have a really
Official.
special episode with Kristel Kruustuk. There's going to be a lot of things we're going to be talking about. A lot of questions that I've had since 2017 when I found Kristel online running her entire show on Testlio. And I think this is going to be a really good episode. So please stay tuned till the very end. As for introduction, Kristel, you are a powerhouse. You are a co-founder and a board director at Testlio, which is a software testing startup. Currently, you have 200 plus global employees, and you've been nominated as Entrepreneur of the Year in 2017 in Estonia, and quoted to be the youngest female millionaire in the country. We can get to that as well. And a very prominent figure in the European tech industry, which without a doubt. And the bestest part of all, you're a mom to two boys. So yes, how do you do this? Where is this coming from?
Well, I think we got to go back way back in my history.
Yes.
If that's all right.
For sure.
Because if you ask that question in that way, like, how do you do all of that? Then I'm like, it comes from within, everything that I do today with Testlio, running the company, being with my family, spending time with myself and for my own hobbies, taking time for my own hobbies. It just comes within. So I grew up in this tiny town in Estonia called Kose. It was about 2,000 people. Wow. And I grew up there. I graduated high school there. So when I was 19, that's when I left Kose. But up until then, during my school years, I was quite active, but I was like playing basketball. I studied piano for 8 years. Wow. I was taking part of different events. I was like doing a lot of things on the side, but I never really felt that I have a calling in life. Like some of my friends, I clearly remember, like so many already knew at the age of 16 what they wanted to or who they wanted to become. Wow. So, but for me, like, obviously I felt a little bit of pressure, but at the same time, I knew that I would be able to figure it out. And then another really important aspect is that I sucked at math. So I hated math in every possible way. I was struggling with it so much. And so when I graduated high school, I was 19 years old and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Luckily, I have an older sister, like she's 6 years older than me, and she had been living away from Estonia for about 6 years then. Wow. And she invited me to live with her in London for the summer of 2008. So I could figure out like what I wanted to do with my life. And then I just earned some money with a summer job, like working as a waitress or whatever job I could find from London. And so my sister has always been like a very big inspiration for me. And so even though I was afraid to go to London as a 19-year-old girl who just graduated high school, I knew that I cannot like reject that offer my sister made. So I went to live in London with my sister for the summer of 2008. And at the same time, I started hanging out with a lot of my sister's friends. And my sister was also like, running projects in different banks. And so they all talked about tech. Like if you don't know what you want to do with your life, then tech is the present, it's the future. You're definitely going to find yourself a role that's going to that's going to fit your like strengths in life. And so I felt like, okay, I did have this, I had these stereotypes in my mind about people working in tech, like we all do, I think, or we all did at some point. Like, you're like introvert and introverted, you like, I don't know, write your code in the corner quietly,
sitting behind like multiple screens.
And you have glasses and you have a big ponytail and you probably look and you're probably a guy, right? And so for me as a 19-year-old girl, it was like, okay, it sounds interesting, but how can I thrive? And I knew about the statistics as well, that there were so few girls going to study tech at the time of 2008. But my sister was encouraging me so strongly that I decided to pursue this path. And so I entered this local college here in Estonia, or university here in Estonia, called IT College. That's now part of the TalTech University.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where my journey in tech started.
Yep.
And then during my second year in university, I started looking for a job, and I felt I wasn't good enough as a programmer just yet. So all of my friends were like, oh, software testing is so easy. Just go do some testing and you're going to eventually become a really great developer one day if you take that pathway.
Was
I
that
loved
your
it
first
because
job,
I knew
Kristel?
that my first job in tech, was
Got it.
being a software tester.
Yep.
So, but I don't know, I had my first job when I was like 14, like putting the prices on products in a
Yep.
retail
Okay.
store. Something
Wow.
like that. And also I was maid, or like a cleaning lady
Wow.
in Radisson, like the big hotel chain here in Estonia. So I've earned some money earlier years as well.
Wow.
But anyways, going back to the story of how I became a software tester and what did I think about software testing. Like I knew that I've been running into software bugs before, right? And that's what I thought software testing is about. Like your only job is to find bugs in the software. And I became a software tester on a project basis here in a very small company here in Estonia. And then from there on, I moved to a bigger company. And then eventually I graduated university in Estonia. And I realized that my passion lies in software testing. And that's when I told my then boyfriend, now husband Marco, that let's move away from Estonia and let's experience life abroad. But what's interesting, and what I've been talking to others about as well, is that for a very long time, like as a little girl, I dreamed about having being an independent woman, like having your own income, having an apartment, having a car. Like I had achieved all of that by the age of like 22. I felt like, oh my God, I have everything. Like, is this how life is gonna be like? So I told my husband Marco that let's move away from Estonia. So we sold everything, we packed our bags, and we went to San Francisco.
Okay. Yep.
We decided that like that's the tech mecca, like we have to go there. And after 2 weeks, we decided that it's really not the place for us. So eventually we ended up living in London. And starting in London, the start was really rough. For a month, I was like interviewing with different recruiters. It was a really hard process for me. But eventually I received a job in a local company that was developing like financial trading platforms, which was a really exciting challenge for me.
Yep.
And then that's where I really developed like this deep passion for software testing. I realized that, like to do that, people have this misconception about testing, that software testing is so easy, but it's not.
Right. Like what exactly is that a software tester does?
Yeah. So for example, you have some apps on your devices, right? Let's say you have a TikTok app.
Yes.
And TikTok has to make sure that their app works in different languages, in different devices. Like every device has a different operating system that impacts the performance of the application. And so this is what testers' job is. Right. Like we are the ones who are making sure that the quality of these products are kept high, and we test these products on different devices, making sure that they run smoothly, that they work as expected. But there are so many, like there are thousands of variations of how we as customers can use these different products. So these products obviously have bugs and errors that can get really frustrating for the customers. And so the software tester's job is to, first of all, like make sure that we have a process in place, that we follow some guidelines of things that we always go through before we release the app. But at the same time, our job is to make sure that these critical issues like don't reach the wider audiences, right? So we test, like normally if you would think about testing an app, then we test it on various devices, various operating system. We test it in different languages, because sometimes some languages, like the strings are way longer than like, I don't know, in Estonian, for example. So it already impacts how the app looks like for the customers. So testers are the ones who are making sure that things work as expected.
Got it.
Because like one of the things that how people think about testing is like, why is it so easy? Is because anyone has, like everybody has stumbled upon a software issue in their lives. For example, an app has crashed, or you haven't been able to send a message to your friend, or you cannot like cancel the transaction because the button isn't working, or you cannot even see the button, right? So these are these different things that as testers we need to think through and kind of put them into our test plans and make sure that we execute those types of test cases every time, right? So it's very complicated, and there are so many different types of testing. So one of them is functional testing, right? So you make sure that the functionality works, but at the same time, you need to think about performance. Like, is the app performing as expected? Like, does the page load for 7 seconds, or does it load in 1 second? You need to think about accessibility, like how other people look at the app. Like, if you have disabilities, like you impaired vision, for example, right? Or you need to think about those things, right? And so there's so many different types of testing. You can go to user testing. Like, for example, some companies want to build an app for a customer that I don't know, is a 14 to 18-year-old, like app, for example, like a game or something. And so you need to test that app with that specific age group. And then you get, again, different types of viewpoints on the app. So anyways, it's very complicated. It's very big. It's very huge. And so in 2012, when we moved to London, I realized that I have this deep passion for software testing, and I want to become the best tester in the world. So in London, as I was the only tester in my team, I eventually started looking for additional opportunities to just hang out with other experts in the industry, because in life, I think you need to learn from others.
Yes. 100%.
You need to learn from others, and there's always something to learn from others. And so I started reaching out to other people, so other software testing experts that I looked up to. I started going to meetups, conferences, stuff like that. And then that's when I first heard about this gig economy boom, right? So there were companies like Odesk, for example, starting to become more popular, I think. And then at the time, there were different crowd testing platforms that also gave testers around the globe an opportunity to test apps for like an American company, for example. So I fell in love with the idea that as a tester, I can freelance and provide my services to other companies around the globe. And at the same time, learn from other testers. Like, the learning was key aspect for me, why I decided to start freelancing next to my full-time job during like the weekends and in the evenings. But eventually I became super frustrated about my experiences as a tester, as a freelancer. Yeah, so I never dreamed about becoming an entrepreneur or anything. It was just I was so passionate, and I am so passionate about testing that and nobody was solving the problems the way I saw they should be solved. So I decided to do it on my own.
That's amazing.
With my co-founder, obviously.
Of course. But I have one question, Kristel. Like, what were the pains that you felt as a freelancer in the field of software testing that you decided that, okay, I need to, maybe solve a problem that was in the industry at that time with Testlio? So why Testlio, and where did that come from?
As I already mentioned, I was first off, when I joined different freelancing platforms, I was just fascinated about the idea. Like, the key for me was about learning. Like, why did I want to become part of this software platform? These platforms was learning, the opportunity to learn from other experts around the world, and then earn some extra income on the side.
Yes.
And so after a few months, what I realized was that testers' time isn't appreciated. So a lot of these platforms, they compensated the testers based on a number of issues they were able to report, instead of the time that they were able to commit to testing this software. But software testing isn't only about finding issues. It's about making sure that things work as expected. So, for example, like, you can execute a test plan for 2 hours on your device and not find any issues, but at least you are giving the team, the development team, and your entire team the confidence that, yes, this works on these devices, this functionality works as expected. So we have this confidence that we can release it to the wider audiences, right? Wow. So, and because of the compensation aspect of these different freelancing platforms, there was this competition immediately between the team members, because everybody was fighting like for reporting who reports the issues the fastest. And so you ended up like going after very simple low-hanging fruits. Like, for example, I had my trademark issue almost every time when I joined a project. I knew that nobody's going to think about the personal hotspot functionality. So I turned on my personal hotspot, and every time like the UI just shifted down and you could lose some of that menu from the bottom, for example. So I knew that I'm going to get like my $5 for it no matter what, right? Wow. So, and that's the thing that this competition created between the team members. And then I by that time, after, even though I had been in this industry for about 2 years, I just knew that quality is everybody's responsibility. This is a famous saying by one of the fathers, I would say, about of software testing, Michael Bolton. He always said like quality is everybody's responsibility. So, and I knew that this is how it should be. Like, if we're competing within the teams and we don't collaborate and we don't help each other, if we don't support each other, then we cannot build great software. And that's when I started doing research, and I realized after talking to my friends who were software testers that this was an issue. And then I also got to speak with a couple of clients who had been using these types of services. And so I realized that we are onto something. And so I figured that it would be best to start Testlio and see where this takes us. But team is everything. And like today, team is everything is part of the value, one of the core values of our company as well. And that has been with us since the beginning, because this was one of the reasons why I started Testlio, because I didn't feel that we are like team is everything. It was individual contribution instead of teamwork.
That's amazing. But I would really want to know, it's been a decade, right? It's amazing, mashallah. I mean, it's crazy, Kristel, like think about it, starting off solo, then you're starting off with your husband as a co-founder, and then come all the challenges of, okay, building the team. And, yes, the team is everything, but how do you keep them motivated, where to get the projects? And of course, as a founder yourself, like, of course, you've gone through many challenges as well. I think maybe we can get into that too. Like, what were the challenges? Like, what did it look like in the first, let's say, half of, your journey? And then now, like, how has that shifted for you as a founder?
Oh, well, a lot has changed, obviously.
I can imagine.
When I started out as an entrepreneur, I thought that ideas are the ones that make a difference in the world of startups. But I quickly realized that it's all about the team. It's all about the execution, because there will always be a lot of competition. And what's going to make a difference is your team. Like, how fast are you going to be able to deliver what your customers expect from you, and it's gonna come down to that fact. And for me, in the early days, to learn about like entrepreneurship was really rough. But luckily, my co-founder Marco, he had been building companies for the past 10 years without any success, so he knew plenty that like you need a lot of patience, you need to see things through, and like you cannot give up on first failure or first challenge. You just gotta keep going and keep going and keep going and keep iterating, and eventually you're gonna get to what you want. And so he was a big support for me in the early days, because every time when I heard criticism, or maybe it wasn't even criticism, it was constructive feedback about Testlio and how we are doing things and how are we building the business and what's our business model, then I cried myself to sleep because of this type of feedback, because I took everything so personally. And I lived like Testlio was my life like 24/7. So whenever somebody said something bad about it, I got really emotional. So this is definitely one of the things that has changed a lot, that at first I saw challenges as problems that we need to overcome, like it's a bad thing and so on. But now I see problems as an opportunity to grow, and it's an opportunity coming up with better solutions. And so it's like you need to change your perspective. How do you think about challenges? And I think it also applies to things in life. Like if you think about weather in Estonia, for example, like it's cold and it's gray out there, but I can also say good things about it. Like, I love that I see a little bit of sunlight. Look at the buildings, look at the architecture. Like, you can still see things in a positive way. And it's so much about the mindset. So my mindset within these past 10 years has changed tremendously. Wow. And I think that's one of the key core things about like starting a company as well. And for me, the aspect of teamwork was also something that I learned early in the days, because in 2013 we also went to Techstars, which is one of the best accelerator programs in the US or in the world. And then
in the world, I would say.
we intense course on how to survive and how to thrive in the world of tech companies and startups. But it was really exciting, and we kind of kept pushing through. And over the time, we just realized that we are all having our problems. We're all having our challenges. True. It's just a matter of finding solutions and then keep going, right? But in the early days, I think it was just really hard for me as well, like emotionally, because I constantly compared myself to others, to other entrepreneurs, to other founders, always thinking like, wow, in the media, it feels like everything is perfect. Like for them, it's only growth. But then behind the scenes, like I could never see what's happening behind the scenes. But I now know that every company is going through their own challenges. Every company has their own story. And it's just, it's just, you need to enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned this, because honestly, this is what I'm after too, getting the real story, not what the journey is shown in the PR or, after 6 months of a launch of a market or a product. But I really want to know one thing, Kristel. So since you've been working with so back then he was your boyfriend, now he's your husband and a dad of your kids. So I really want to understand, like, how do you guys have your, let's say, board meetings? Like, what is the dynamics there? Like, is it sort of a personal approach that you guys take? Like, let's say you get mad at him for some reason,
So in the early days, it was just me and Marco on the board, obviously. And we live, like, Testlio was our life, like 24/7. And so there were times where I tell this story quite often as well, like where I had like a lot of anxiety. For example, I could wake up in the middle of the night and just wake up Marco to say like, oh, I need to talk this through. Like I cannot like sleep, or I can't get my mind off of things. So board meetings happened every time. But so I think it played to our advantage in the early days as well, that we were a couple, because we could always talk things through. And Marco always says as well that I'm the best co-founder he has ever had, because like you could immediately talk about things, because he used to have partners. He had to set up meetings with them, and sometimes like these things or issues, emotional things, challenges kind of dissolved over time. But if you're there for each other like all the time as well, then it's you can walk through, or you can work through those issues very like a lot faster. And so, but obviously over time we have gained new board members as well. So now it's not only us, but it's two of our investors, one board observer, and then now our CEO as well, who has been with us for 4 years now.
Amazing. Okay, that's really good. One question from one mini founder here who just started this little side project 6 months ago, to a veteran founder, you, Kristel. I really want to know, how do you get yourself up on a day where you feel like, okay, I don't want to do this today, like in this moment, like I don't feel it. And I feel like all of us have those days, right? Where you're like, oh shit.
You're speaking to my heart right there. Because for this past week, for example, I felt like really down. I've questioned everything that I do. I've questioned my value. I've questioned myself. I just go through this low point. But I know now that this what separates the winners from the losers. The winners keep going no matter what. And you do even your little thing that you need to get done. You just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know that eventually this low point will go over and you will again you will ride the high wave, right? So, and life is ups and downs.
True.
And
True.
yeah, this is how you do it. So
Amazing.
I felt emotionally really low this week. But like, I think the hardest day was on Tuesday, when I was just really like finding it really hard to get anything done or find the motivation. Like, even though you're like, wow, there's so much to do, but we all have those times, and it's okay. It's okay. Like, just do whatever you can, and then eventually it will go over and you'll be better again.
Wow.
I don't
One
know.
question. No, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. I can relate to it on so many levels already. It's crazy because you've been a freelancer and I do freelancing as well on the side sometimes while having a 9 to 5 and then managing this. But of course, I can only imagine, the challenges and the decisions and the people that you need to manage on a daily basis, right? It's completely different.
Yeah.
But I really want to know, like, what inspires you the most? Like, where do you seek inspiration from on a daily basis or just generic as well?
Everywhere, but
Love that.
most of it comes from having a vision or having a meaning for life. And for us, or for me here at Testlio, like me and Testlio, we are very aligned. So for obvious reasons. But everything that I do here at Testlio, like, our vision is to enable human possibilities, right? And so whatever we do here at Testlio is to help others, right? So when we do when our testers, for example, test apps, they're already impacting the users of these apps that we are testing for. We're already helping testers in countries where work maybe isn't so easily available, right? Because we are providing freelancers around the globe opportunities to work and earn money. Thanks to serving our customers, we can build programs like Testlio Ignite, for example. Testlio Ignite is a social impact program that we started like 3 years ago. And every year we include 10 people in this program from very challenging backgrounds or that have been through different life challenges. We include them in the program and we help them to transition their careers into remote software testing. So we help them to become software testers. And we've had some amazing people coming through this program who have lost all hope. And then it's very like personal. It's very hands-on, like mentorship program. First of all, you learn about software testing, but at the same time, you're building up your self-esteem. You're learning how to believe in yourself again.
Right.
And you do that to people, right? Like, you need to have the right people in your life that support you and that root for you. So this is how I think about Testlio's vision, and this gives me the meaning of life. Like, I do honestly believe that our life or our purpose in life is to just give back and do more good in the world.
I love that. And also just want to understand, this program is open to people from wherever in the world, or
from all over the world.
From all over the world. Okay, amazing. So anybody who wants to, be a part of this program, I'll add the details as well when we launch this episode, because it's an amazing initiative, Kristel. And I'm really proud of, Testlio doing something like that. It's a great initiative, honestly. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's we've done it 3 times already, and some people have joined us full time as coordinators, and it's really, really cool that people from different countries where opportunities are not available, we make it available. There is this person that I like to quote always, is this late founder Leila Jana, who unfortunately passed away 3 years ago, and her life's mission was to bring work to countries where work wasn't available, like Uganda and Kenya, for example, rural areas especially. And she always said that talent is equally distributed, opportunity is not. And she was so on point with that. And hopefully with Testlio and companies like Testlio that provide remote working options, it's going to make a difference in this world. And so, yeah, I really love that.
That's amazing. I think talking about inspiration, Kristel, you, I think, have been a really big inspiration for me as well as a person. Genuinely, because when I moved to Estonia in 2017, there were very few startups, you know, who were the big names, let's say. And there were very few people who were turning into the global unicorns or the global, you know, like players that everybody kept their eyes on. And Testlio, Wise at that time, TransferWise, Bolt at that time, Taxify. So all of these companies were doing their amazing things, right? And I remember at that time, I think it was around the end of the year or maybe beginning of 2018, I saw an article from you on Medium where you were talking about how, I'm going to read that as well, where you were actually detailing your thoughts on being pregnant and then, you know, managing a company on the side. I think it's just insane how you had to, like, you know, like, because I can imagine there were a lot of thoughts that you and challenges that you were going through at that time. Because you did talk about the anxiety that you were facing at that time and how people are going to react and what is your own team going to say and how you're going to deal with all of this. So I feel like because this is going to be an inspiration to many, many women out there. And for me, I think it really opened my eyes as to like, wow, man, you know, this is amazing. As someone who is a founder, coming forward and you're talking about her journey and, you know, not stepping away just for the sake of it, but being there and then opening her experience to the world. So
yeah, I think it's important for people to to be able to do what they want in their lives and not being like, if I decide to raise a family and start a family, like I'm not gonna be charged and I'm not gonna be like that I'm still going to be taken as seriously as I am with or without the kid, right? Or without having the kid. So for me, yes, in 2017, I was like, it was very rough, right? Because I think at the time we also didn't have too many like role models out there. Now we see CEOs posing pregnant covers of like these really famous magazines with their kids. Like, I think we just need to bring out more awareness about that. It's like that you can build a company and you can raise a family at the same time. It is possible, right? So, but at the same time, in 2017, I think there was still a lot of these talks around this hustle culture that like, if you don't focus 24/7 on building your company, like the competition is just going to take you over and you will never have a chance. But I believe that you will always have a chance and the market is not going to run away. If I decide to take time for myself, if I decide to take time for my family. In fact, I believe that, and it's statistically proven, that if we do take time for ourselves, if we take care of our mental health by spending time doing things that we love, like our hobbies, or we spend time with our friends and family, we're going to be better colleagues. We will have better ideas if we would just fully focus on building our company. But I learned it the hard way as well, because in 2016, I also I was close to burning out, because my whole identity was tied to the success of Testlio. And when things were not going as I expected, and they never go as expected, then it was really hard for me to cope with that and deal with it. And that's when I realized that I need to start taking time for myself, and I need to find places where I can relieve stress. Luckily, I found myself, or however we put it. But anyways, I found a four-legged friend, a horse named Rockefeller, that completely changed my perspective on building a company. And I realized that in life, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
But I really want to know, like, how has life been for you as a co-founder, and while managing your kids and family, and also prioritizing your mental health? Like, how has that shift been for you since, stepping into multiple roles at the same time?
Now I'm really good. Well, again, like I'm still having my low points, even though I think that I am best mental health state I've ever been. Like, we will always have our lows. We will always have our highs. just gotta keep going.
Yes.
But so that's like one of the most common questions I think we get asked as parents. Like, how do you balance your work and life? And for me, like many years ago, I started using this word harmony, because I think that if we try to balance things, it means that we try to give our time equally to different parts of our lives. So like 30% goes to work, 30% goes to family, 30% goes to partner, and then 5% to maybe the hobbies or something, or 10%. But like, you just gotta balance it. And there are times where you put more work or you prioritize work, but there are also times where you prioritize your family. So I think I have found this harmony in life, and I don't like talk shit to myself if I decide to choose one way or the other, right? I just I have made peace with that. So yeah, you just gotta juggle.
Really like the point of having a lot of power, to be honest. It takes a lot to come to a point where you're at peace with yourself and your decisions.
I have so much inspiration talking to you. It's so fun. Like my words just like come out like so easily.
I'm loving it.
One thing, as you said, an important thing, that like you have to make peace with yourself in your life. I asked my grandfather, my 86-year-old grandfather, this summer, like how can you live a happy life? And then last week I asked my 94-year-old grandfather the same question, like, how do you live a happy life? They both said you need to be happy with yourself first. You need to make peace with yourself. So I was like, wow, it's amazing that I didn't tell them about the question that I asked the other grandfather, but they said exactly the same thing. It's all about making peace with yourself and being happy with who you are. Being happy, just being yourself.
Oh my God. I'm not sure why, but it is making me a little emotional. but yeah, coming now to the point of the series where, Kristel, we're coming towards the end, but I think there are 4 sections where I need you to give your advice. The first one being, yes. The first one being, what is your advice to moms out there who are running businesses while having families, who are trapped in their decision of, do I choose my career? Should I go back to work? If I go back to work, will I be able to be a good mom? What will my friends say? What will my kid say when he grows up? All of these things that we're trapped in, right? Because I'm sure that you do serve as an inspiration to many, many women out there. So I just want to hear from you, like, what is your advice to women choosing life and work, women choosing family and work, women choosing business and family?
Whatever you decide, don't let other people's opinion to influence you or impact you. That's it. Like, you do whatever you want to do. If you decide to stay at home, perfect. If you decide to do work and also juggle kids at the same time, then do that. Just be happy with your decision and do whatever you feel is best. If you feel like you decide one path and it doesn't work, then change it. Just do it. We're so trapped in thinking what the society says about us, about the stereotypes are influencing us. We're so worried about what our families say, and in some countries, definitely, like the culture and the traditions are changing us so much. But at the end of the day, like our grandfathers, like my grandfathers have said, like, you need to be at peace with yourself. Just do whatever you feel is best for you at that time, and it's okay if that changes over time. Like, it's totally fine. But like, it's not like, we should never charge anyone whatever they do with their lives. It's their lives.
Absolutely.
It's their life. So
yes. And what is your advice to people who are starting their careers in general, in software testing or outside of it? Because we are in I think the market at the moment right now, with the recession, with the layoffs, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I mean, like you mentioned as well, and I think I can relate to that as well. Sometimes a lot of our hopes and dreams are attached to our careers, right? So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so obviously with that, like, don't forget about yourself in this process. But I think when you're starting out, like, you need to give yourself plenty of time to dive into a specific topic or a specific thing that interests you and not give up when you're having the first challenge. Like what I've seen happening or what like the, I don't know, different articles are pointing out is that people tend to give up too fast because they're not like used to failures, or they're not used with challenges. So I think it's important to just keep going, even if it's a little bit hard. And then secondly, find people around you that are smarter than you, that can support you, that can root for you. Find these people in your life. Like if there are people in your life that are taking you down, then these are not your people. So don't waste your time in trying to convince them to like you or be with you. Like you will have your own people out there.
Wow.
So I think that's important. Like this mentorship and this network people is so important when you're starting out. So that's like exactly what I did with Testlio, or when I started out as a software tester, I immediately like started like following other industry experts. I reached to them on Twitter. Like even though I was afraid like whether they're gonna like, I don't know, say no or not, I just gave it a chance. And then I went to different meetups and just hanged out with the people that I looked up to, and I just felt like I could learn so much from them.
For me, I feel like this hour has been, exactly that. Like me hanging out with someone I look up to so much. So thank you so much for that, Kristel. But I have one last question from my side, which is, so you have achieved a lot, mashallah. You have done amazing, amazing things in life. And you honestly are a role model for women out there, for people in tech in general, for people running startups, anybody who's in the startup space, honestly, and just someone who I can personally look up to as well. I just want to understand, like, like when you were starting your journey, right, as a kid, and your goals were completely different. And then when you were 22, there did come a point where you were like, oh shit, now I've got all those dreams and goals. Like what's happening next? But I just want to understand, how has that shift been for you so far? And do you think the little Kristel would be proud of where you are today?
I think so, yes. So one of the key goals for me in life was to become independent. So I definitely got there. But obviously what has changed is that like I thought that life is gonna be like I'm gonna reach a point and then I'm gonna be happy. But I realized that life is it's a lifelong learning process. That's how life is. And I will constantly keep learning. I will constantly, like I'm learning from this like podcast right here about myself. I learn about you. I learn about your culture. And it's so like I always keep my heart open in life, and life can always teach me. And that's how I think little Kristel would be proud of me.
Love that. Amazing. Thank you so much, Kristel, for today. It's been an amazing episode. Honestly, like I feel like throughout the series, there's been a few sessions where I've felt a stronger connection, and I feel like this is definitely one of those. So thank you so much for coming on the show, supporting, and also sharing your journey. It means a lot. And for me, I feel like the Sanya in 2017 would be really proud of herself right now, because I did manage to, be with someone for at least an hour that I honestly really look up to a lot. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
For sure. Thank you. Have a good one.
So cool.